The iPhone 17 Pro is a camera and not a phone. Apple has a secret plan that they don't want you to know about. If, like me, you upgraded from the 16 Pro to the 17 Pro, what major improvement do you see except the cameras? Think about it. So is Apple really trying to turn an iPhone into a camera? There are 5 major clues which tell us why this is a possibility. And clue 5 is nuclear. This is my peak design camera strap. Whenever I'm working with my camera, this is how I wear the camera. I mean, if we just take a look at Apple's product and what a camera strap does side by side, I think it is pretty obvious as to what they're trying to do with this current new offering of a product of a strap. Apple is not showing communication as a focal point in their advertisements. They're showing cinematography as the focal point. They're basically signaling subconsciously that this device that they're selling you is a camera and not a phone. It also makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Most people who buy 17 Pro phones, they are filmmakers and casual photographers or people who really like using the camera, because the average person is just happy with the iPhone 17. Their customer avatar is a filmmaker. You see brands are like Lexar who are making these mini SSD devices that just plug in into your iPhone. They are doing that for filmmakers. Your average person is not buying them, and obviously they're making a lot of profit on those products. That's what they're making. So it's very easy to deduce that primarily the buyer of this is a filmmaker or a person who's acting like one. The streaming empire, Ted Lasso, Morning Show, Severance, one of my personal favorites, all are really big hits for the Apple TV, and there are only a certain number of those away every year from being platform preference for a lot of customers who are now at this moment going to Netflix but will switch to Apple just because they make good shows. Also, the crazy thing about Apple is that they make the hardware on which they're selling the platform. Everyone who's watching Apple TV is watching it on an Apple device. So they are in a crazy position where they're selling you the hardware, the platform, and the software. So they have the unique ability to customize their experience for the users in a more refined way than any other platform can. So if you control where people are watching the content, how they are watching the content, or what they are watching the content on, why not just make the thing that creates the content, which is the cameras, what easier way to do it than just integrate in the thing that's being used for the other two things? Oh, is that a coincidence, or is that vertical integration? But what about the creators? The creator pipeline. As someone who's edited more than 500 videos, I can tell you that I'm well integrated in the Apple ecosystem. But is Apple's ecosystem really about convenience, or is it about control? You shoot on your iPhone, you airdrop to your Mac, you cut on Final Cut or iMovie. So in a film, there are several steps which make a film. One is shooting, which you do with your iPhone. Second is editing, post-production, which you do in your Mac. And third is publishing, which currently is done professionally on Apple TV. But I can see a possibility where Apple TV acts like YouTube and allows everyday person to upload their own stuff on Apple TV and works just like YouTube. But the limitation there will be either only people with iPhones are going to be able to do that, or only iPhones will have seamless integration to the platform. So only they will be able to easily edit seamlessly. And if you have camera or another phone like an Android phone, it's going to be much harder. It's going to take more steps. If you go look on YouTube, small compact form factor cameras, there's a huge following for that, and also for minimal setups. Micro Four Third cameras, small cameras like the Sony ZV-E10, Canon EOS M, which I myself made so much content on the Canon EOS M, and I love using that. But one of the reasons why I stopped using it is because the amount of time it takes to process the image correctly from that, or correctly in the terms that how I like to see it. So I finally figured out there are 2 main reasons why people really love this world of compact cameras and everything, minimal setups and stuff like this. One is the small form factor, so you can carry them easily. Guess what? The iPhone fits in your pocket. Also, this thing has a 1-inch sensor. I don't think it's hard to imagine that this will not have a 1-inch sensor very soon in the foreseeable future. It's not really hard to imagine that the sensor size is going to keep on increasing year by year. They've increased the sensor size into a square sensor this year in the selfie camera. What's stopping them from doing the same thing in the back cameras? It's very easy to see how you are holding the phone like this to take landscape movies and pictures. It's very easy to imagine that's how you're gonna videos and photos from these cameras on on the back, like probably next year or like in a couple of years. That's gonna happen. That is definitely coming to these back cameras. So it's more ergonomical. There's nothing more smaller than your iPhone, and you are carrying it everywhere with you. The second point is the convenience of shooting with a small compact form factor camera in public is that you're not turning heads. You don't have a massive lens in like a normal DSLR or mirrorless camera, which just makes it like a film setup, and everyone's thinking, oh, what are you shooting right now? That's very hard to do. But if you have a small compact form factor camera, when people are watching, yes, if you have a phone out, even less people are watching. That makes iPhone a natural winner. Clue 5, the nuclear up. So I came across these images of these people who are working in a nuclear power plant who have an iPhone, and because they're not really allowed to take pictures in there, so they don't have cameras in their iPhone, and that just makes me think. And if you see breakdown videos of the 17 Pro, you can see that the camera is basically, this plateau is basically its own separate module. And if Apple can make cameras, I keep saying camera, what I mean is an iPhone. So if Apple can make iPhones without the plateau, which has cameras, what is stopping it from making like interchangeable one, or like a modular one which you can take off and put down and then switch it for another one like that? And that will work very much like how we have interchangeable lenses in DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. I see it as like prime lenses or like zoom lenses or something like that, which is interchangeable. Also, one of these companies, I don't know which one it is, I think it's Xiaomi, or it's one of these Chinese companies, has a phone which like looks exactly like an iPhone, and it has like the screen on the side and has cameras on the side. I think that's going to be a play for Apple for like the everyday customer which doesn't really care about the cameras. I think they could just give them like two cameras and like a huge screen, and then for photographers they can have like a small screen, majority of the space dedicated to like lenses. How I was saying earlier that it's not hard to imagine that Apple can make 1/8 sensors fit into this plateau. Why I was saying that is because there is a vapor chamber in the iPhone now which just easily cools, and a lot of these problems that we had in DSLRs which had like high quality image being processed inside of them was overheating. So Apple's already solved that with the vapor chamber. But if the sensor size keeps on increasing, one of the new problems would be the size of the iPhone. And if you see currently in iPhone Air, what they've done is they've stated this is like a thin iPhone. If you just see the camera up on that, the plateau that they're calling, it's thick. They can use the same logic and keep saying in the advertisement that okay, this is like 6.9 or whatever, 5.8, something like that. Then they can have just like interchangeable plateaus where they just pile that on the iPhone, and the iPhone is still that thick. Plateau does not count. Also, a very big problem for Apple right now is like how do they convince a large majority of people who have iPhones to upgrade to a new iPhone, and when they don't really want to do that, I would say that is to convince them to buy an additional product for their iPhone. Probably down the line, 10 years or something, when they have modular iPhones, the people who get like the first or second version of that phone, and people who like don't really regularly update their phone, what they will try and do is like they will hold on to the phone, but they will buy newer modules. So Apple will still have an incentive, a customer acquisition point, to where they can still sell to these people who like refuse to upgrade iPhones. These are my 3 lenses for my A7 IV. This one is for portrait, this one is for macro, and this is a wide angle lens. With modular plateau, Apple has the flexibility of doing the same for the iPhone, hence making it like a full-fledged camera. Apple's secret plan. Conclusion. Putting all the pieces together: the strap, Add, TV Plus, creator pipeline, modular hardware. This is a media company on the precipice of making cameras. Would you buy an Apple camera?